Alright, we should be live any moment. And there we go. Hello, everybody. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, Bar911970. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. And hopefully, you will listen to this with an open mind. And I'm going to try my best to help you think in a different way that will make you see negativity in your life never again the same way. And you can actually use it as an ally to help guide you in a better direction. So hopefully you'll listen to this with an open mind. And definitely check out some of my other videos. I have hundreds of videos that are here to help people think in a different way. And if you're here, obviously there's a reason why videos like this resonate with you. So welcome. It is 8:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is the 27th of April, 2017. And I want to share a little experience that I just had a little while ago and help you to think in a different way when it comes to pain in your life, whether it's physical pain, mental pain, whatever. Either one you can use to your advantage and actually help improve your life, provided you pay attention to it. Now, those of you who watch my channel know that in the past couple of years, I started eating a lot better, a lot healthier. I'm not 100% there. I still get my cravings out now and then, but I've eliminated especially things like red meat, sodas. I don't smoke. I no longer drink. I haven't drank in years. I stay away from garbage foods. Like I used to love eating kids' cereals and things like that, lots of sugar, and started eating a lot more fruits and vegetables, some more raw food, and my life has definitely felt better. And if you watch a couple of videos that I've done in the past where I get these cravings every now and then, and my body reacts to it quite quickly and quite negatively. And a little bit earlier today, I was at my massage office because that's one of my jobs. I'm a licensed massage therapist, have been since 1996. After I did the session with my client, I always offer them drinks of water. So I go to I go get them a cup of water. And I see there's this little bowl of these Hershey's Kisses with the almonds in them. Now, I haven't had basically a real candy bar in years, and I saw those, and I used to love eating the Hershey's Kisses with the almonds. Those were my favorite little treats. I used to have them all the time. So I grabbed a handful of them, and I'm like, let's have a few. Now, meanwhile, I don't even eat things with real sugar in it anymore. I use things like organic coconut sugar, things like that. And then within about 20 minutes, all of a sudden, I started getting this incredibly bad pain in my stomach to the point where I had to drive home very quickly. And I won't get into the details of what followed, but I'm sure you can use your imagination. It was not happy sitting on the throne in your own kingdom. So, what do we learn from something painful? Because a lot of people in life, either whether they're depressed or just angry or in lots of pain, we're always asking, why does this have to happen? And we never really think of it in a different way, in the form of a way to educate yourself and get yourself to a different level. And that's by facing things. They always talk about facing your fears, but you also want to face your negativity. So just with my prime example of what just happened, I had a few of Hershey's Kisses with almonds. I haven't had them in years. I eat a lot healthier. My body reacts to these toxins rather quickly, and I got a very severe stomach cramp and stomach pains and other things that followed afterwards. So if I didn't pay attention to that and I continued to eat them, what do you think would happen to my body if I continued to eat something that caused me pain? Well, at the very minimum, I'll keep having stomach cramps and spend a lot more time in the restroom. At the maximum, I can end up causing damage because my body's telling me through pain that something's not right. And one of the things I've learned about being a massage therapist for over 20 years, and I tell this to my clients all the time that come in for pain, because I do a lot of treatments, medical treatments for people, is that when you are experiencing physical pain, it's a warning sign trying to tell you to take care of something. Because if we leave things untreated, they tend to get worse. Prime example, if you hear a rattling noise in your engine, and you say, well, I don't have time today, I have a busy lifestyle, it's nothing serious. It may not be in the beginning, but if you allow it to continue to fester, You ever notice it gets worse and the damage gets more and more expensive and it could get to the point where your car no longer functions? It's the same thing to the body and the mind. And the biggest thing that I've learned, and hopefully something that I can still in all of you to make you think in a different way, and you'll never think of pain or depression the same way again, is it's a learning tool. Because negativity, and I've said this in a few other videos, and you could see, like, we all change. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know I've gone from topic to topic. And when you reach different levels, you start going in a different direction. So things that may have had meaning to me earlier may not affect me the same way because we all get to a different level. It's like school. You know, you can only learn 2 plus 2 is 4 for so long before you don't need to be taught that anymore, and you go on. So when it comes to pain and using it as a learning lesson, nothing imprints in our minds more than negativity. And I'll give you another example that you can just think about, because I like putting examples so you can think about it in a different way when you have images in your head. Think about working in an office where there are 100 people that work with you. 99 of the 100 are just coworkers. You don't care about them at all. But one of them you have a major crush on. And you decide one day you're going to get a brand new haircut. And it totally is way different from the style that you're used to. Let's say you're a very conservative person and you get this really wild and outlandish haircut to just try something different. And you go to work the next day, and 99 of those 100 people that you don't really care about all pander to you and say, oh, it looks great, and that's wonderful, and I can't believe you did that, it looks wonderful. And then the one person you have that crush on, when they first look at you, they start laughing, not to try and hurt you, but they couldn't help it. And they basically think, oh, what was it, Halloween? What happened? And basically hurt your feelings. What do you think you're going to remember more years down the line? The 99 people you didn't care about that basically just said, oh, it's nice, or the one person you had the crush on that meant something to you that may not have intentionally tried to hurt you, but said something to make you feel awkward or uncomfortable. It's going to be that one that affects you. So it's not always the masses that can make a change in your life. Sometimes it could be just somebody that has a connection with you in some way, shape, or form. So my thing is, when you see negativity for what it is, a warning sign, and if you see everything in your life, if something is starting to break down, just think of it as your stove or your refrigerator or your car or your computer. If you're starting to get viruses in your computer and you don't try and fix it, your computer starts to slow down, and then eventually it stops. So it's the same thing with your body. When you're experiencing physical and mental pain, there's something in your life that is affecting you. And when we ignore it, because that's what we're told, we're basically told, if you experience some kind of depression, pray to an outer source or go to a therapist. We're never really taught to say, okay, what is the problem? What is causing the problem? What can I learn from it? And how can I improve it? And that's one of the major concerns, because we look at pain as a negative thing, and we don't see it as a warning sign, a learning lesson. And the way that we experience pain leaves an imprint that we will never forget. So if you, for example, as a child, touch the stove and you burn your hand, well, through that painful experience, you learn that it's not a good idea to do that again. So you had to experience that pain to imprint something in your brain that will allow you to never put yourself in harm's way again when it comes to that. And it's the same thing with depression. You haven't noticed somebody, either you in your life or somebody that you know, will date somebody, like, let's say, for example, you know somebody that's dated a severe alcoholic, and things are really bad, and this person really mistreats that other person because of their alcoholism. And at one point they break up, or the person passes on, or whatever, and they end up finding another person that ends up being an alcoholic. You ever notice people when they're in bad relationships, they tend to move on and get the same type of relationship a different body, same mentality? It's because we're not learning from the mistake. And because life is filled with electricity, which is light, energy, and magnetism, which draws things together, well, you're going to always attract what you feel. So if you are feeling depression and you don't learn from that depression to try and fix yourself or learn from it, you continually attract the very thing that you really don't want. But because you keep emotionally focusing on it, that's exactly what you'll get. And I'll give you another example. My client that I was working on today, she's an elderly woman, probably in her late 60s, a really sweetheart of a woman. She was talking about the fact that she has a friend that's very depressed. And she says all the time she's always claiming to be the victim, that always things happen to her negatively and she's a victim. And she even goes to therapists, and the therapists don't know what to do with her because she's always saying she's a victim. Well, that in her heart, it doesn't matter that somebody like her, for example, would say, I don't want to be a victim anymore, because it's what's in their heart that affects their reality. Because if you know anything about quantum mechanics and the way that life really works, is it's your feelings and emotions that manifest and create your own version of reality. And that's why you can have 100 people look at the same exact thing and see it in different ways, because it's all their own perspective, their own version of their interpretation of what they're seeing. And because you can see it on different angles or see it at different times, you can have different opinions, different feelings. It's going to vary. So your emotions are going to dictate what is attracted to you. So it doesn't matter if that person, for example, says, oh, I hate being a victim. I don't want to be a victim. Oh, God or Buddha, wherever they pray to, say, why am I always the victim? It's because it doesn't matter what they say, it's what they feel. And if this person believes they're a victim, and then their heart gets good, positive attention because people pay attention to somebody when they're crying out loud. That's why you see children, they'll break a lamp or something to get a parent's attention, even though it's a negative attention, because something's always better than nothing. The universe will basically justify that person's truth of being a victim by giving that person not what they want, but what they express in their feelings, and will constantly have their truth justified by having victim situations happen to that person. And because that person doesn't seek inward to see what can I learn from my experience so I can get rid of it. Because here's the biggest thing that people don't understand. When most people have pain and depression to the point where it affects their lives, they tend to not focus on it. That's why they'll tend to focus on things like alcohol and drugs, or maybe sex, or they become very angry or very violent. It's because they try and pretend that that negativity is not there, or they hold it in and place it really far down in their body, thinking, oh, as long as I don't deal with it, as long as I keep it, on a shelf, it'll not affect me. You ever wonder why things continue to go in that same direction, where that person or persons are always completely angry or always completely depressed, and all these situations keep happening? It's because they're not focusing on it. And the reason that they do that, in their mind, they think, well, it'll go away. They'll say, ignore it and it'll go away. And that's not always a positive thing. And I've said this before, don't brush your teeth, ignore your teeth, and they'll go away. That's not necessarily a good thing. But here's the ironic part. If you view pain and depression and facing it like school, well, if you go to school to learn 2 plus 2 is 4, once you learn that 2 plus 2 is 4, you no longer have to be taught that 2 plus 2 is 4. So in other words, you first didn't know, then you were taught it, you understood it, and you moved on past it. So nobody right now, I'm sure, that's listening to this video is still wondering if 2 plus 2 equals 4. But it's the same thing if you use that same aspect with your mind, with your body, with your soul, with your feelings, with your emotions. Somebody is trying to teach you emotionally that 2 plus 2 is 4, and you're ignoring it. You're saying, oh, I'm just going to put that on a shelf so it doesn't affect me. But you don't learn from it. So the ironic part from people who go to drugs, go to alcohol, are very depressed, very angry, very bitter, very seclusive, is they want that pain to go away. That's why they may go to drugs and alcohol, or they may go to therapy, or they may get on their knees and pray to whatever god or goddesses or gods or whatever to try and fix the problem, because they really don't want it. But the ironic part is, if they would actually face it and learn from it, well, it would no longer serve a purpose and would no longer affect you. That's why when I started this conversation talking about the fact that, yes, I had this craving for something I used to have years ago, which is those little almond Hershey's Kisses. 15 minutes after I ate a few of them, because I eat healthier these days, it affected my stomach in a very negative way. So if I use that as a learning tool, it says, hello, McFly, don't eat those, and you won't have that stomach pain. Well, then I learn from it, and if I never eat another one again, well, guess what? They could never affect my stomach again. But most people will take their anger and frustration out on that candy, just like they would a person or persons or situation, instead of realizing, because you need real eyes to realize that it's you that makes all the choices in your life. And here's the wonderful thing. Any choice that you could make, you can always make an alternative choice. Nothing is etched in stone. And even if it is etched in stone, that only lasts as long as the stone remains. You blow up the stone or you chisel out what's etched in stone, it's no longer there. So you can change anything in your life. The question is, are you willing to face your fear and figure out what is causing it? Or face your pain and realize what's causing it, so you no longer have it affect you anymore. It's like the old joke where somebody goes into a doctor and says, it hurts when I move my knee. And they say, well, don't move your knee. Well, it's that simple. But we're taught that if it's too good to be true, it usually is. And that's why they want you to listen to their advice. They want you to pray to an outside source. They want you to take medication. They want you to go to therapy so somebody else can profit off of your continuation of never healing a problem. And that's why how many people have experienced some kind of physical pain in their life, and they go to a doctor, and the doctor gives you an x-ray, they do examinations, they try and do what they can, and then say, I don't find anything wrong with you, but here's some pills. And as long as you continue to take these pills, you won't feel the pain. Now, there's a difference between not feeling pain and not having pain. Like if you've ever seen one of those arthritis commercials, well, they'll show, for example, an elderly man or woman playing tennis, and they say, oh, I love playing tennis. I live for tennis. It's my life. But unfortunately, due to my arthritis, it limited the amount of time I could play the game that I love because the arthritis in my hand would hurt too much. So I went to my doctor, and my doctor prescribed Brand X. And all of a sudden now my arthritis is gone. Now here's the thing. That Brand X medicine didn't cure their arthritis. They just made them not feel the pain. So what they don't show you in the commercial, because at the end of the commercial you have the person on the tennis court with a big smile saying, I'm playing the game I love and I no longer experience my arthritis pain. Well, they didn't cure the problem. They didn't fix the problem. They didn't find out what was causing the problem. They just not feeling the problem, not facing it. So what they don't show you is 6 months later or 6 weeks later or 6 days later, because the arthritis is still there, they're just not feeling the pain, and they continue to play through the pain. They ended up dislocating their fingers, cracking their bones, and ended up not ever being able to play tennis again. So they didn't face the problem, they just hid it. And that is what people are not taught, is that when you are in pain, if you are sad, if you are angry, if you are depressed, you don't see it as how lucky you are, that somebody cares enough to send you a painful experience that you will not forget, that will imprint in your mind, so you can learn from it, so you never have to experience again. If you open a door and there's a boxing glove that punches you in the face, yeah, it sucks, it happens, but it's kind of stupid if you open up the door again. And if you open up the door again and you say, oh, why does that boxing glove have to be there? Who would make such a thing? I think that's really appalling. I'm offended. I feel bad. And you keep opening the door and it keeps punching you in the face. Well, if you no longer open the door, how many times can it punch you in the face? So it doesn't matter how cruel the outside world is, how mean people are. It's whether we let it affect us or not. And that's the difference between, like, for example, the trolls that have made fun of me all of my career for just doing more than just trying to care for people. And it used to affect me to the point where I wanted to fight some of them. And now I'm like, well, it's your opinion. It doesn't affect me the same way. Now I just block them and move on. It's that simple. But you're taught, if it's too good to be true, it usually is. So what I want you to do, if you are sad, if you are depressed, if you are running to drugs and alcohol or some other means to hide the pain, it's like taking that arthritis medicine. It may hide it, but it's not fixing it. So think in another way for people that are auto mechanics or had problems with cars. What do you think would happen to your car if you're driving down the road and you hear a rattling noise in the engine, and instead of fixing it, you turn up the radio louder than the noise so you no longer hear the rattling? Does that mean it's fixed because you can no longer hear it? Do you think that will improve the quality of your car's performance? Or do you think over time that little noise might turn into something very major? That is what's happening in your body, in your mind, in your consciousness when you put your fears aside because you're afraid to face them. And it's always a choice. You can go left, you can go right, you can go straight, you can go backwards. And that's why, even if you've seen and been with my channel for a long time, there are many topics I've talked about, many ideals and ideas that have presented themselves to me. And they may resonate with me at the time, but I'm never married to any one ideal, because if it no longer has a necessity in my life, there is no sense of clinging on to it, because it's like clinging on to something that's passed on. Gone is gone. Your ideas can change. If you marry yourself to one idea, then you are stuck instead of being free. And that is why when you turn on the news, they don't tell you alternative ideas and question things. They say, this is what is. When you focus on religion, they don't tell you to question anything. They say, listen to what we say and believe what we say without question. In an infinite universe with infinite possibilities, you can go in any direction you want, and you can have any truth you want, even if your truth means you are stuck in one direction. Because you will manifest whatever you feel. So beliefs can be good or bad, but any belief can be changed unless you're married to it. And I don't mean like a spouse married. I mean connected to it to the point where you'll never change your mind. There's a reason why rivers are clear and ponds are mucky and disgusting. It's because one flows and moves constantly and one stays stagnant. The only difference between us and a river or us and a pond is a pond cannot consciously decide to become a stream. We have the conscious ability to make choices. Whether you believe in free will or not, whether we truly have free will or not, is irrelevant. We have the ability to make choices, which means we have to take responsibility for what we choose to do and not do. So if you have some form of pain and you choose to ignore it, or you choose to mask it, or you choose to have someone or something else try and take care of it, is it any wonder why you're not improving and moving forward? And if you think of it on a physical level, like think about your car, if you don't fix the problem, it makes it worse. But once you fix the problem, it's gone. So don't ignore what's making you sad. Don't ignore what's making you angry. Don't ignore what's making you confused. Think about it, research it, under or understand it, and learn from it. Because like I said, once you learn 2 plus 2 is 4, it would be pretty ridiculous for you to spend the rest of your life being told the same thing over and over again. And yet we all tend to fall in that same trap of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Just look at the history of the world. How many wars have there been? How many riots have there been? How many protests have there been? How many revolutions have there been? How many exchanges of power has there been? And are we any closer to a utopia now than we were 2,000 years ago? And we continue to allow other people to continue to convince us that doing the same thing just with different people is going to give you a different result. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, how many times do we have to be fooled from people we allow to be in government, because aren't they the representatives? It's because we're not facing the fact that we have the power to do everything ourselves. But like the welfare system does, it gives you just enough to get by, but you'll never thrive, you'll never succeed, you'll never become the next Donald Trump, but you'll have just enough to get by. For whatever reason you come to this planet, you come to this third dimensional plane to learn something. This is one of the hardest places to learn because there's pain, there's suffering, there's loss, there's abuse. But what does abuse teach you? To survive. What does being deserted teach you? To be independent. But most people don't want to see the positive aspect. They want to feel, woe is me. And if you don't solve the puzzle gets harder and harder, till one day it kills you, or one day you can no longer ignore it. But by that time, it's harder to get rid of, and it's created a lot of damage. Just like the car that I used as an example. If you hear a little rattling in the noise, if you go and treat it the next day and repair it, it might cost you $20, might even cost you $50. But your car is fixed, problem solved. If you ignore it, that little ding could turn into something that destroys the engine completely. Or if you fix it halfway, it could cost thousands of dollars. It's all a choice. So what do you choose? If you watch a video like this and it helps you to think of your depression or your pain or your loneliness or whatever in a different way, and you still choose to ignore it, well, you've been given the answers that you've been resonating out into the universe, even if you don't say it out loud. And if you're getting the information that resonates with you that could help improve your life and you still choose not to do it, whose fault is that? Because like I said before, even if you are completely religious, if God or gods or goddesses or whatever are supposed to do everything for you by you getting down on your hands and knees and praying, well then what was the purpose of free will? And Elijah, I'm very understanding that the U.S. is a corporation. I've been talking about that for years. Please focus on the topic at hand. If you want to talk about U.S. as a corporation, please go to a video that talks about that. Thank you. So my point is, you have a choice. You can continue with your alcoholism or your drug use. You can continue to be angry and depressed. You can continue to be not where you want to be by choice. Or you could start wondering, why is it you feel depressed? Why is it you need that cigarette or that drink or that drug? Figure out what's causing the pain. And instead of masking it or putting it on a shelf, learn from it. And you'd be amazed at how quickly that pain will disappear. Because if there's something that causes you pain, and you learn what it is, and you fix it, then it no longer affects you. But it's going to continue to get worse, until you do. So if, like Broken Angel just said, pain is my whole life. Well, if that's what you believe, then that's what you will get. The question is, do you want pain to be your whole life? And if the answer is no, and your heart believes that to be true, then figure out what's causing you the pain and what you can do to change it, to avoid it, to turn it into something positive, or to just walk away from it. If you're in an abusive relationship that you choose to stay in, yeah, it's bad that somebody might be abusing you, but isn't it your decision to stay? And you can make whatever excuse you want. Oh, well, it's a lot easier, or I don't want to be alone, or they're very controlling, or, I financially cannot survive without that person. Well, you can make excuses, but then you're still where you are. It's all point of choice. It's just like being healthy. You want to be healthy? You eat better. You have fruits and vegetables. You stay away from meats and sugars. But those things taste good. They make toxic chemicals taste very good. So you can make whatever excuse you want. It's all up to you. So hopefully this helped you. You can now use pain and depression as a different point of view, saying it's not really that bad once you realize and understand or understand what its meaning is. It's an alert system. It's a warning system. It's trying to say, hello, McFly, time to get up. You ever get scared from your alarm clock? Wakes you up, doesn't it? It did its job. Just imagine if your alarm clock was nothing more than a quiet, peaceful whisper. You'd probably sleep right through it. Sometimes you have to have this loud, annoying, even scary noise to do its job. Once you become aware of it and see it in a different perspective, it will never have a negative connotation ever again. So if you feel this video helped you, I would love it if you would share it. Give it a thumbs up. Please take the time to do that because, like I've said in the past, YouTube and Google make my videos almost impossible to get out to other people. So sharing this on your social networks with anybody that you think could benefit from this is definitely going to not just help me, but it's going to help them. Share this video. Check out other videos that I do. And remember, just because you have a belief system doesn't mean it has to stay that way. Don't marry yourself to any idea. You can believe in whatever you want, but if something comes along that should make you doubt it or change it, don't be afraid to. Unless you like being a pond. I'd rather be a stream. So thanks for listening. I hope you all had a great time. I hope this helped you think in a different way. I hope you all reach your goals, eliminate your pain the best that you can, and find some way to make yourself happy in this really depressing world. There's a reason why we're here. So might as well learn. Otherwise, it's like school. What happens when you go to school and you don't learn your lessons? You get sent back again, and you have to learn it all over again. I'd rather graduate. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered. Thanks for listening, everybody.